That goes credit to it, right? But anyway, let me do justice to Tariq Khosa's book. We have talked about everything except the book. And I think it is the greatest injustice where you find such a beautiful piece of text written for which you need guts and grit to write. It's so easy to talk, but to write it as evidence, it really needs all the passion, forgetting the family safeties, and going and documenting something. I think that's really very credible. I would call this as an encyclopedia for any enlightened leader, who wants to usher in good governance and humane governance by merely undoing the inconvenient truths that he has pointed out. If they can do this, things will change in Pakistan. But that needs that vision, that clarity to do things. I've been asked by the moderator, we can't talk on the whole book, so I was given 2 chapters, policing as a community service and police reforms, the way forward. 2 important chapters, and at this time I'll just talk on one more, a very important one, which I think you all should know. What is our problem here? Both these chapters complement each other in convincing present-day society how urgent it is and important are the police reforms. We are taking it very lightly. If you want business houses to thrive, create job opportunities, and attract foreign investments and not beg for them, as was envisaged by the Asian Development Bank program, was this only: access to justice in the 90s, but it was left half implemented. So I'll start from the quote from the book, and believe me, again, I will reiterate that this is a book you all should buy and make Tariq sign it, because I don't know whether he will be reaching home safely from here. You get a good price for it later on. It took 25 police commissions and committees to finally arrive at the realization that politically neutral, operationally autonomous, highly accountable, and professionally sound police services are vital for democracy and the rule of law. That resulted in the promulgation of the Police Order 2002, but the forces of status quo and vested interests never allowed the implementation of that progressive law. In fact, the reform process was reversed in Sindh and Balochistan by instead reverting to the 19th century policing model, which Mazhar talked about. And Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa paid lip service. And the biggest opposers of this was the Punjab government, sadly. However, sadly, Mr. Khosa has overlooked to mention, most importantly, the role of a great visionary man, the late Justice Fakhruddin G. Ibrahim. For establishing the CPLC in 1989, by amending the police law and the rules, investing citizens with the powers of the honorary magistrates and justice of peace of the British era, to help liaison and work with the police and the common man in assisting victims of crime and civil society in policing related issues, while also being empowered to be an oversight body of the policing institution. The success of CPLC in combating and detecting kidnapping for ransom and some major cases, if that was not done, Karachi would have been another Colombian city of the past. Sectarian terrorism cases were solved, rapes, collating of crime data and patterns, the best data available even today in the CPLC offices, and efficiently run with the latest technologies, thus proving Khosa's contention that if policing is developed and treated as a community service, it will bring great support in imposing the rule of law and relief in the provision of cheap and speedy justice at the very doorstep of the common man. That's the first place for providing justice, is at the police stations levels. To become its most successful outcome, as is the case of progressive and developing countries. World Bank did a study by the Sussex University on CPLC under the heading of co-producing citizen security. And Umar, Shahid Hamid's son, wrote a full booklet on this, did a whole in-depth study on this, which is worth reading and worth eye-opening. It's an eye-opener. Toronto has established CPLC from an example from here. So it's not that Pakistan does not give innovative ideas to the international world. And they're thrilled about it, of implementing it. We had good bureaucrats that time also, with Fakhruddin Saab sitting, Abdul Qadir Siddiqui, the law secretary, Khawar Zaman Saab, the IG at that time, Afzal Shigri, the DIG, who embraced CPLC within the institution. Shahid Hamid Saab, as the Home Secretary, never notified any member without the approval of CPLC. It was commendable. He would even override the CM's and the governor's note and dissent. So we have such good, excellent bureaucrats where we could have done the rule of law. Then the next comes the police reforms that Tariq is talking about. The next chapter, which also you will see enlightens and strengthens the concept of CPLC. One, Tariq says that he identified the following police reforms as crucial for the administration of justice, and rightfully so, and I'll prove it to you, and you'll be shocked with some of the disclosures that I'll make to you even today, with Kaleem Imam Saab sitting here right in front. Depoliticize the police through institutional safeguards in the form of public safety commissions at federal and provincial levels in order to ensure democratic rather than political or bureaucratic control. Two, render the police, now listen to this, render the police a highly accountable institution by establishing independent police complaint authorities at the federal and provincial levels. The external oversight mechanism that was being done by CPLC also is meant to ensure impartial accountability of the police, which has become notorious for corruption, misuse of authority, torture, illegal detentions, improper investigations, and a lack of sensitivity to citizens' needs. Can you quote any bureaucrat from any field criticizing his own organization with such in-depth just to provide justice to a common man? Amazing. Grant police departments operational and administrative autonomy, recognizing that the IGP's powers are to be those of an ex-officio secretary to the government. After having the accountability, give them the power. Under very stringent law, make that strong. Recent verdicts of the High Courts of Sindh, Punjab and Balochistan and the Supreme Court for the unity of command and of tenure of the police chiefs are welcome developments on the behalf of the civil society. And this was only possible because the civil society stood up and went to the courts. For everything, the civil society has to stand up and go to the courts against the governance. So where is the good governance being ushered in anywhere? Is there any sustainability in it? The present day controversy, very interestingly, which Mother touched very slightly, and I was scared, if he's going to do all the talking, what am I going to come and tell you all? The present day controversy of the removal of the SP, DIG and IG was again stayed by the learned judges of the Sindh High Court on a petition filed by the members of the civil society, including me. So I'm not just talking, I took a stand. In line with the earlier judgments of the Supreme Court of the Police Order 2002. Here I would quote Zahid Hussein's foreword, that the title of the book is apt, scathing in its criticism, but with it are wise suggestions of a nation where laws are often made, but implemented selectively to benefit the elite, suffocating the average citizen from a system rigged against them. The comedy of errors and political wranglings continue where those in power do not even read the laws they have enacted. Let me quote you one. The Sindh repeal of the Police Act, famous 1861 repeal by the orders of the Supreme Court, the 2002 Act, made by the civilian government in 2019, July. It says, Section 12 says, the term of office of the Inspector General of Police posted under Article 11 shall be 3 years from the date of posting. We should ask Kaleem Imam Sahib to publish his letter of appointment. It does not mention 3 years. The first violation. The provincial government and the federal government may, for compelling reasons, not because you got up in the morning and you didn't like Kaleem Sahib's face or anybody's face or any IG's. There have been incidents. There are more. Even Saud Mirza Sahib is sitting here, who left his job and walked out of the office. Unfortunately, the rest of the police ditched him. That was an example he created, and it's amazing. In consultation with each other, repatriate or recall the Inspector General of Police as the case may be, but compelling reasons which can be challenged only on those grounds. Provided that before initiating such transfer, the Provincial Public Safety Commission shall give the concerned officer an opportunity of being heard. Till today, I don't think the Chief of Police or the DIG or the SP was called to be heard. What is the problem? And the law says you can't do it without the recommendation of the Public Safety Commission. So where does it stand, Tariq Sahib? We advocate everything. We advocate these things, institutions, but it needs good, honest, committed, dedicated people like Fakhruddin Sahib and a couple of them, the names that I've taken, to make sure that honesty and integrity would prevail. Next, Section 11. Now look, this is more interesting. I was talking to the lawyer, I said, this will throw out the case in 5 minutes by the judges. He says, tragedy, they don't read it. The government shall post the Inspector General of Police out of a panel of 3 police officers recommended to be recommended by the federal government, not by the provincial government. Provided that before a police officer is posted as Inspector General of Police under Clause 1, the federal government shall place the services to the provincial government, which is logical. But the names have to come from there, not from here. Otherwise, what police reforms are we talking about? Second, the Inspector General of Police posted under Clause 1 shall have administrative and financial powers ex officio Secretary of the government. And the entire dispute with the present IG is on this. If he would, because he was trying to impose this act, this law made by the provincial government. And I don't think anybody should consider anything after this. So, and interestingly, the federal government has not read it. The provincial government is not reading it. How can they even think of anything else? You know? And finally, I thought, Mazhar, one chapter more was very necessary to show you how we have gone. I would like to speak on chapter 17, Securing the Nations, where it mentions